We are live. Go ahead and click on it.
How about now? Test.
Hold on, let me hang up on you.
Okay. Test.
I can hear you.
Okay.
You can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want to know if I can edit this or not. So, all right, let's play some music. Just chill here for a minute while we get things going. While I start sharing everything, okay?
Okay.
Hello, Ed, and hello, everybody listening to this brand new mini series show entitled the Rust Belt Political Podcast. You have heard of me before multiple times, and you've definitely have heard of Ed from Back in the Day Movie Guys podcast. Ed, how in the heck are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm all right. I am COVID free. I never got it, thank God. I live kind of in a very close area, but other than that, family's good. Everybody's good. How about you?
So far, so good. Nothing too bad yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I guess depends where you live.
Right. So tonight here we are bringing everybody an interesting discussion here. Ed and I, this is episode 1 titled Why We Switch Sides. So I'll call it out right off the bat here. Ed was a Republican who has now switched to the Democratic side, and I was a Democrat that switched over to the Republican side. So tonight's episode is all going to be about why we switch sides. That's it. We're not going to talk about anything else. We're not going to talk about immigration. We're not going to talk about COVID-19. We're not going to talk about any of that stuff. Just why we switch sides. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
we'll give a little bit of a background on why we were where we were and sort of where we are now and thought process and the evolution of our own political thoughts.
Yeah.
Because, from the title of this show, we live in the Rust Belt. We are the center of American policy in terms of politics, and what we believe isn't sort of on the coast's thought process. We have a real life, real world thought processes on why we believe the way we believe, and we are the people that everybody every 4 years chases after. Jordan lives in Northwest Ohio. I live in southwestern Pennsylvania, just on the Ohio border. And we are exactly in the center of the Rust Belt. So that's why we sort of called it this. And we're not going to be your typical political show. We're not.
No.
We will swear. We will cuss. But we're going to be honest with each other, and we're going to be honest with ourselves. And we're going to be honest with you. You're not going to hear any bullshit. You're not going to hear any spin. It's going to be the way it is. Just like two normal guys from the Rust Belt talking about politics at a bar.
Perfect. So then let's get into it, okay? Because I don't know how long this show is going to be. This is us, episode 1. Let's just go into it. Let's just get into it so the fans can see what kind of show, because we could talk for half an hour about what the show's all about. So let's just get into this show. I very wholeheartedly dislike the Democratic Party. I am to myself at this moment in time disgusted that I even was for the Democratic Party. Just don't like them at all.
Sorry to hear that.
I don't. And the reason why is because I don't feel that the Democratic Party cares about traditional American values or morals. I do not feel the Democratic Party cares about our military as much. I feel the Democratic Party wants us to be controlled and told what to do. And I feel that Democratic Party has terrible arguments when it comes to gun control, when it comes to immigration, when it comes to every policy. And I just can't be with them anymore. I just can't be with them. Right off the bat. Let's rip this Band-Aid off. That's how I feel. Boom.
That's fine. So let's talk about, for a second, and I appreciate that. So I'll go into my spiel, and then we'll talk about why we were members of the Democratic Party, or in your case, or in the Republican Party. So I feel the same way that you do about the current state of elected Republicans. I don't feel that way about the Republican Party. I don't feel that way about conservative policies. I believe that conservative policies have legitimate thought processes, in how they are. So I have a huge problem with current elected Republican Party policies. I can't stand the vast majority of
both national and statewide elected officials in Pennsylvania, anyway, that are members of the Republican Party. I respect voters of the Republican Party, but I don't respect the elected officials. I think they have it absolutely wrong on all these same issues that you talked about. And I think that they have that. Most importantly, the misinformation that the current elected Republican members of Congress and Senate and the executive branch, I think that they are either they either don't know current facts or know them and are continuing to lie to the American people.
Lying. Okay, you want to talk about
right
lying?
Off the bat.
Okay, right off the bat. Okay, so you want to talk about lying? Let's talk about how the Democratic Party always lies to the people. Right? Why is it that the Democratic Party, right, always has to go after gun control? Like, how about this? Like, we're not going to talk about gun control. Like, we're going to talk about gun control. We're going to talk about things in this episode, but it's just going to be little hints to where we stand, right? So this is my argument on it, okay? Ed, right or wrong, yes or no? Is cocaine currently illegal in the United States of America?
Yes.
How are people getting it? If it's illegal,
well, okay. Let's go with your discussion because I have an idea where you're going, but we'll go with your discussion.
You get what I mean, but I miss. Okay, let's fight.
I know what you're saying. Okay, they buy it illegally on the street. I know exactly where you're going with it. They buy it illegally on the street.
Okay, and the reason I was going to say fuck cocaine is because it's not the 80s anymore. So let's just go with meth. Talking about meth. Okay, so meth is currently illegal in the United States of America right now, correct? Yes. And you know where I'm going with this. The listeners right now, because we have a few listeners that are listening live, they know where I'm going with this. Okay, so it is illegal in the United States of America, but people who buy it, the people who sell it, the people that make meth are criminals, right? One would argue that the people that sell it, the people that make it, and not always because they're addicted, but people that buy the product, right, are criminals. They're still finding a way to get the meth and get high. So one of the things that I disagree with the Democratic Party completely is the all-out ban on assault rifles. Because if a guy's going to go crazy and shoot up a place, God forbid, I'm not condoning that, they're going to find it no matter what. So I think what they need to do is not change gun laws at all and let people buy as many guns as they want because that is your God-given Constitution right. Tell me how I'm wrong.
So here's where you're wrong. That is not what you're saying is not a Democratic Party policy. What you're saying is the caricaturization. Like you go to the fair and the guy draws a cartoon version of you in a hat that doesn't. It looks like you, but it's a caricature, right? It is an embellished and fabricated version of the Democratic Party policies. Okay. Now, yes, what you're saying is that some members of the Democratic Party on the further left of this, they believe in banning assault-style weapons. Okay. Now, me personally, I've never agreed with that. I never liked that policy. I didn't like it in the 90s. I didn't like it in the early 2000s. I didn't like it in the mid 2010s, and I don't like it now. But what we need to have are common sense gun legislation regulations in this country that don't ban the guns, because here's the thing, you're exactly right. If you want to break the law, you're going to break the law, right? What the Democratic Party, the true fact of the matter is where the Democratic Party is as a whole is we believe that currently, if you can register a car, you can register your guns. Same concept. And it's something that I personally have been for, and something that I have personally ran on. is that you're allowed to own as many guns as you want in this country. Same way you're allowed to own as many cars as you want. But just if you want to buy a passenger car, you have to have a driver's license that says I can buy a passenger car. You want to buy a commercial vehicle, a semi-truck, you want to buy a motorcycle, you have to prove that you're licensed to be able to handle both of those things, right? And you have to have each car has to get registered every year. You have to re-register it. The Democratic Party as a whole, where the party is that you can, if you want to own a gun, you have to be able to carry it, or excuse me, you have to prove that you have to have a license and prove that you're able to handle it, that you know how to handle it safely, that if you want to buy a shotgun, you have to have a license to buy a shotgun. If you want to buy an assault style weapon, you have to be able to prove and have a license that you can do it, handgun, et cetera, et cetera. Also, in addition, the Democratic Party believes that we need to have full universal background checks anytime you go to buy a gun. If you, Jordan, want to sell me, Ed, a gun, you and I should have to go to ABC Gun Supply Store for a nominal fee, negotiated between you and I. It'll be whatever the market determines it is, $25, $50, $75, whatever the market determines it to be. You and I will negotiate that fee. And then we go there and they do a background check, and then they do a title, basically the similar when you buy a car, the title transfer. If you want to sell me a car, right, you have the title in your hand. You and I have to go to a notary. We get the title switched over. I have to prove that I have a driver's license. I have to prove it's legal. And then the title changes hands. Same thing should be with a gun. You shouldn't be able to buy a gun out of the back of the trunk of somebody's car.
Okay.
I don't know how you couldn't agree with that.
Okay, so we're going to go on multiple topics on why we switch parties, but this is one topic that we'll cut a little bit short here because we don't want to go into it because this probably will be an episode in the future, but this is my answer. Mm-hmm. You can and you can't. I just can't go to John Smith and buy a gun out of his car right now. That's not legal. I know plenty of people.
It is legal. It is legal.
I know plenty of people in my area where I live that own guns, that have bought them from John Smith down the street. They have to have the guns registered. I know a guy last week where I work has to go to the local guns. He went to Bass Pro Shop. All right, I'm going to tell you the story. This is a legit story. I'm not going to tell you the guy's name, but the guy who I work with went to go buy a gun last week at Bass Pro Shop. Okay. He walks in and says, I want to buy 9mm Beretta. That's what he wanted to buy. It's a handgun.
Sure.
They said, great. We need your social security. We need your driver's license. Boom. Background check. Right there. Right there's your background check. So what are Democrats?
Sure.
Then after they run the background check, they go, okay, great. Here is the registration for the gun, because now that gun is registered to him, John Smith. So then if John Smith sells it to me, Jordan, and I go on a shooting spree, when the police get that 9mm Beretta and he sold it to me illegally, that's going to fall back on John Smith because it's registered to John Smith.
You just made the Democratic Party's argument against the NRA. Thank you.
I don't like the NRA, and that's the thing, is that people don't understand.
And that's right. That's fine. Like there's nothing wrong with what you're saying. There's nothing wrong with what you're saying. That's common sense. The Democratic Party. But here's the thing: in Ohio, where you live, that is the law. That is not a national law.
Okay,
you can go. And that's fine, and that's perfectly fine. That's the difference. Is that there are common sense gun legislations in some states, okay? Like in Pennsylvania, if you have the boyfriend law, to where if you have a history of domestic abuse, you can't buy guns. That's common sense. Like, right? If you have a history of domestic abuse, beating up your wife or your boyfriend or your kids, right? If you have a history of doing that, you shouldn't be able to own a gun. Right?
Maybe. Look, here's the thing when it comes to that. Again, I don't want this episode to be about gun reform. So, I mean, because this is just an introduction of what the show is. But
sure.
But God, because I could.
You started it, Dick.
I did start it. I feel at the end of the day that if I want to go out and buy a gun, I have every legal right to do so. Now, I live in Ohio, you live in Pennsylvania. Every state has their own laws, and that is constitutional because the government is not supposed to run us. The states are supposed to run us. Right now, what's going on in the world right now with what the federal government is doing is completely unconstitutional. And what I mean by that is stimulus payouts, buyouts, bailouts, all that stuff. People may love it. People may like it. I get that. This is trying times right now. But at the end of the day, that is unconstitutional. So I
disagree with you. I disagree with you.
The forefathers,
look.
Hold on, let me finish my point. The forefathers even have said that it's in the Constitution that the federal government, the United States government, is in charge of foreign trade. It's in charge of protection of military, but overall, the states rule. So what's good for Ohio may not be good for Pennsylvania, and vice versa. But
here's the thing.
It's not constitutional.
So they're so far apart with the two things that you're trying to make. So if you're trying to make the free market aspect, if you're trying to make the free market libertarian argument on stimulus money and bailouts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, what is your thought process then on when a company goes out of business or an industry fails, that the government bails them out?
I totally disagree with that. I disagree.
At least your level. It has nothing to do with the Constitution. It has to do with economics and your belief systems in economics, which is perfectly legitimate. I am a free market capitalist. I am not a neoclassical free market capitalist, but the two arguments aren't the same. You're arguing that giving people money in a crisis is against the law, against the Constitution, but we've had hundreds of years of these things actually occurring. So it's been held up by Supreme Court rulings. It's been held up.
Yeah.
There's been laws that have been created. The Constitution is a living document and was designed to be a living document. And yes, I'm fully aware that we fought a revolution over taxes. I get the libertarian argument. I don't 100% agree with it, but I get it. So on the broader point of why we switch parties, this is actually one of the bigger things for me is the economics of it. So I was originally when I first registered when I was 18 years old, I registered as a Green Party. I registered Green because I believe,
wow.
Because I do believe in creating policies, and this was 2006. Okay, so this is how far back my thought process goes on environmental protection and protecting the environment. Okay, and then I switched to the Democratic Party simply because I wanted to be able to vote in a primary. And this was that was 2006. And my very first presidential election I ever voted in was 2008. And of course, I voted for the Democratic nominee, who was Barack Obama. That was the first person I ever voted for president of the United States. And by 2012, I was in college. I had an economics professor an economics and business professor. They were two separate classes, but he taught the same things. He was a small business owner who unfortunately was misguided about taxes. And that's why I switched to being a member of the Republican Party, is because of basically youthful lack of experience and youthful lack of knowledge brought on by somebody who didn't quite understand the concept of taxes, sort of teaching me the ways about it. And I was wrong, and I admit that I was wrong. And I'm a free mind and a free spirit, and I did not vote for the re-election of the president in 2012. I was a full-blown Republican, and I felt like Obama was weak on several things. I have since then seen what I believe to be the light, and I I was a Republican in 2016, and I did not vote for either candidate from either major party. I voted, actually, for the first time in my life, I voted Libertarian. And since then, I've realized that the Republican Party no longer aligns with my beliefs in economics. And I've had to make the personal change back to the Democratic Party. And I understand that current elected Republicans they have no policies whatsoever other than to make themselves more and more wealthy. I'm not saying the current Democratic Party is any better. I'm not, but I'm saying that I switched back to being a Democrat because they were closer and the belief systems are working and middle class folks first as opposed to corporations and rich people first.
Okay, well, since you said into that detail, then this is my detail on why I switched over to the Republican Party. And just these past few years, I did not vote for Trump. And I will make this very clear. This is not me sitting on my ivory tower saying, well, I'm not a Trump supporter. That's one of the most irritating things I can ever hear is you're a Trump supporter.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have never heard somebody say, oh, you're an Obama supporter. You're a Bill Clinton supporter. Oh, you're a Romney supporter. That is just nonsense. Just because I'm a conservative doesn't mean that Donald Trump's cock is in my mouth. All right. My name is not Stormy Daniels. Okay. So
welcome to the 10% of the Republican Party who are open-minded to who they support. Doesn't have to just be a Republican. They believe in conservative policies.
I support the President of the United States, whoever that may be. I may not like every policy that individual makes, but I support the President of the United States. So where I have changed in the past few years, because I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, and my wife was very happy that I voted for her. And I begin to do my own research. I begin to study, begin to learn. I begin to realize that the people that are the most violent towards the other party is the Democratic leftist party. Now, that doesn't mean that you yourself are. It is. I mean, I go on YouTube all the time, and this is, you know how when YouTube works, which is quite beautiful, and I mean that sarcastically, is you watch one video about a video game review, right? And then you log off.
Yeah, their algorithm just digs you into that rabbit hole.
So all I did one time was I stumbled upon a video called Louder with Crowder, and I don't know what this was. So I clicked on Louder for Crowder, and it was this segment called Change My Mind, and it was about transgender and about how there are an endless spectrum of sexes or genders, and just endless spectrum of genders. There's no two genders, they're saying. It's not male and female. It's non-binary. It's all this stuff. And I was like on the side of Crowder. I was like, yeah, there is only male or female. There's no what? You know, like just that process of, So then because I clicked on his video, the next time I open up YouTube, I get Ben Shapiro. I get Black Rifle Coffee Company.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
I get all this stuff, and I start watching and I start learning. And one of the things that really changed my mind was just the CEO of Starbucks. You know, I've had this conversation. Went on TV about
by the way, Ben Shapiro has full-blown autism, and he speaks. He is literally Rain Man. Okay, so I don't want to hear like I listened and I learned from Ben Shapiro.
I did listen. I did listen, and I do learn from Ben Shapiro because Ben Shapiro is right. I will tell you this, because I don't know if you've ever seen this video before, but this is what changed my mind on the whole transgender thing. He was at a college campus in this famous video that he did, and she goes, why can I identify as a male if I want to? And he goes, okay, you know what? I'm going to ask you how old you are. No, never mind. I'm not going to ask you how old you are because I won't be offensive. No, wait a minute. Yes, I am going to ask you how old you are because you're probably young enough. So how old are you? And the girl said, well, I'm 20. I'm 20, so that means I'm young and stupid, right? And he goes, no. Why don't you identify as 60? And she stopped dead in her tracks and couldn't answer. And he goes, no, seriously, why don't you identify as 60? If you want to identify as whatever you want to identify as, then why don't you identify as 60? Because you cannot magically change your age, and you cannot magically change your sex. And I was hook, line, and sinker at that point. And I just started to dive more to the Republican Party, discovered that the Republican Party was actually founded against slavery because the party that was
Mhm.
for slavery was the Democratic Party.
Okay, but listen, listen. I mean, here are facts about it. That literally is like saying today that yes, that is factual. Okay, that the Republican Party was the party that was founded to abolish slavery, but that is legitimately saying like the Democratic Party is today the party who is pro-slavery. We are like
Are they
you
not?
make fun of me. Here's no. Stop it. Are you playing a character right now? Or are you being legit?
Look. I'm just saying, like, are they not?
Because here's the thing. Like, how often? Okay, let's bring it back to another subject that you and I talk a lot about. I am a Cleveland Browns fan. Okay, how often am I told not to live in the past? Let's talk about how terrible the Browns are today. Let's talk about how they haven't won. They won 4 games. They won 1 game in 3 years with the previous 2 coaches ago, right? Okay, let's talk about how terrible they are since '99. That's present day. Those are facts. But to say that I am a Browns fan because of who they were in the '60s, like it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. It is irrelevant. The Democratic Party today has nothing to do the same way that the Republican Party today has nothing to do with the party of the 1800s. Neither of the parties have anything to do with what they did back then.
So then riddle me this, okay, Batman. Then why is it that the Democratic Party mostly focuses on urban communities, and why does the Republican Party mostly focus on suburban?
That's not factual. That's not factual at all. That is not factual at all.
So
Here's the thing.
hold on.
You gotta-
So you're telling me that the Democratic Party does not focus on urban areas, and you're not going to sit here and tell me that the Republican Party does not focus on suburban white areas. You're not going to tell me that.
Let's go through this then. Okay, so the Democratic Party they don't focus on urban areas where people live. They tend to become educated and cultured, and they learn things from other people, and that's when they start to vote Democrats. There are large sects of the population, large portions of the population packed into these cities. So they overwhelmingly vote Democrat. The Republican Party realizes that in order to gain state legislature majorities, state Senate majorities, and congressional majorities, is that they focus on elsewhere because they can't win where people live. They have to be able to take sects of the population. Okay, these rural centers and the miseducated suburbs, who are now significantly leaning Democrat, by the way, because they're so turned off from the current Republican Party. And again, I'm not talking about the Republican Party of 20, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. I'm talking today's Republican Party. And they have made a concerted effort to go and do everything that they can to win state legislatures in rural areas. They've made a concerted effort to do that. And that was really, really smart of them. Republicans are better at politics than Democrats because Democrats always try to do the right thing, and Republicans are literally just about the business of politics.
Okay, but here's the thing, though. If that statement you said is true, then how in the heck did Trump last week have a 51% approval rate in the United States of America? If he's not, because
here's the thing: most people only get to see small portions of the things that he's doing, and he says the right things when he's scripted. And then they turn away because they're at home. They have no choice. They have no choice but to watch him. So they're at home. They catch a 5-second clip of it here and there, and they catch this and that. And what it is it's mostly the bump he received legitimately are from Democrats who aren't going to vote for him in November anyway. They're not saying he is better than whomever the Democratic nominee is. They're saying, okay, he's doing a tolerable job at this moment because he and the Republican Party understand the politics of the moment. They understand that they can take his current fuck up, this whole situation, this whole national pandemic, which is he didn't create it, but it's gotten way out of proportion because he's fucked up about it. He's been able to take the bad news and say, look how good of a job I'm doing. And people are only seeing that little clip and they're saying, okay, well, I guess he's not doing that bad. But if you look at it from a macro perspective, the thing as a whole, he's not. It's going to go back to normal. He's going to go back to the low 40s, high 30s where he typically lives.
Okay, fine. I mean, that's your opinion about it.
And this isn't about Trump and this isn't about coronavirus, but this is about current Republican policies. Elected Republican officials.
Okay, so then riddle me this.
Since 2000, the last 20 years.
So every show that I have ever done in my years of podcasting, I've always had a fucking catchphrase for some reason because I have nothing else to say. So I guess for Rust Belt, it's going to be riddle me this, Ed. Okay, so then riddle me this, right? I've had a 401k for many years. Right? Mm-hmm. Why is it? Let's put coronavirus aside. Boom, it doesn't exist. Everybody's happy right now. Okay.
Let's go back to December of 19.
Right. Why is it that my 401k has never gone up the way it has since a Republican has been in office, which will be Donald J. Trump, compared to when a Democrat was in office, Barack Obama? My 401k in December, before all this happened, was up 23.72%.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, congratulations.
So the question is, why do you think that Joe Schmidt, factory worker, is not a Republican? That's why he's a Republican. All they can care about.
Right. That might be why he's a Republican, but that might be why they're a Republican. But here are the facts to set the record straight, so that this person can see. So Joe Smith, factory worker, can understand the facts and make their own informed decision. Okay. So 80% of all stocks in the United States are owned and or traded by the most wealthy 1%. The top 10%, the top 92% of all stocks that are owned or traded are owned by the wealthiest 10% in this country. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Okay. The wealthiest 10%. So when you see a 23% boost in your 401k, and this isn't meant to be derogatory in any way, but you and I, who are middle-class folks who both make under $100,000 a year, right? When we see $1 million in a 401k, we're like, holy shit, look at this. So we get this little morsel and we're like, this is over 10 times our salary this is over 10 times our salary. We're going to be able to, it's doing so great, so well. But there's 92% of all stocks are owned by the wealthiest 10% of people in this country. So that leaves 8% for the rest of us. Legitimately, it leaves 8% of the stock market for the rest of us. Okay? So when you and I see this little bump, it makes us feel good. It makes us look good. It makes us think we're living high on the hog. When in reality, the stock market is not an indicator of the economy. It as a whole, it is actually an indicator of how much more wealthy rich people are getting.
Okay, so Greg, thank you so much for saying that. So this is my argument on that, right? Check this shit out. Riddle me this, right?
All right, Edward Nigma.
Right.
Riddler from Batman.
I think that's completely fine. And the reason why I think that's completely fine, and why if we look at our 401ks and go, oh my God, it's up 10 times what we make, this is great. Look, I'm really hoping that majority of America that has a 401k, that checks their 401k on a daily basis like I do, understands that that's not actually your fucking money. Especially when you're my age.
That's true. That's true.
It's not your money. It's not your money. I really, really hope they know that. my educated guess is, majority doesn't realize that. Because if you have $10,000 in your 401k and you quit your job or you get fired and you want to take that out, you're not going to get $10,000. You're going to get like $3,000 because you're going to get fucked in the ass. But my point,
well, because you gotta pay taxes on it, right? Which is bullshit. You gotta pay taxes on it. There are so many things that go into it, and you're 100% right. But continue. It's not your money. It is not your money.
It's not your money. So I check my 401k because it's like, oh my God, like I lost $1,000 this week, or oh my God, it went up $2,000 this week. Like, that's just great to know. I'm okay with the wealthy 1%. And the reason why I'm okay with the wealthy 1% is because how can I say this without sounding like a contradiction?
Isn't that the point?
Isn't that the point? I don't give a shit about the wealthy 1%, just like they don't give a shit about me. The company that I work for right now, they send out daily emails to all the employees. And the email that was sent out last week, this is a true story. The first sentence of this email, because I'm still open, I'm still working, I'm considered an essential employee where I work. And this is my point of the 1%. The first sentence was not what I would do as a business owner. Thank you so much for coming in here and working. Thank you for doing what you are doing. I appreciate you with the current times that are going on, right? I know that coming in here is a risk, right? That's what you should say. The first sentence in the email last week from the company I work for was, sales are up 59%. Fuck you, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
So,
and that right there is number one was another reason why I switched parties, because those people who don't give a fuck about you or me.
But here is that thin line on why I'm a conservative. I say fuck you to that guy, right? I say fuck you because you don't make me feel good for coming in here, right? This is where you turn around, and this is where I have learned of fuck your feelings. It's the facts. The guy is a job creator. I could be working in a restaurant right now, and I could be losing my job. I could be doing a non-essential work and lose my job. My wife could be doing the same thing and lose her job. I am open. He is a job creator. He is making me money, and we have overtime up the ass. So for that, I say wealthy 1% who creates Apple phones, who creates Amazon, who does what I do for a living. Thank you. Because I am still working. I'm still able to have a living wage. Are you a piece of shit? You are a piece of shit. But thank you. Does that give you a good point?
See, and here's where my disagreement is with that. Okay, and it's really is just a mindset. It's there's no right or wrong answer here. Okay, but like if you caught coronavirus and died, before your forklift got cold, he would have somebody else in there doing that job because he doesn't care about you.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't have to. Like, he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. But you don't owe him anything the same way he feels he doesn't owe you anything, right?
Sure.
So they're giving you their bullshit excuses as to why they're open, and they're remaining profitable because in what they're doing, in what you're doing. They are legitimately putting you and your family at risk on a daily basis in order to make more money.
Yes, they are.
So thank you. So you don't owe them anything.
No, I don't owe them
other
anything.
than, yes, you go in, you put in your time at a wage, and we can get into the minimum wage if you'd like. We can get into whatever that is, and I'll tell you, and I can give you thousands of examples of why the minimum wage needs to increase significantly. But that's neither here nor there. That's not the point of this conversation.
Yeah, no. Minimum wage can kiss my ass. Go ahead.
But yeah, okay. Well, anyway, but you don't owe him anything, and he doesn't give a fuck about you the same way you shouldn't care about them. it is a business transaction. You are going in for X number of dollars per hour, and they don't owe you. They really and truly don't owe you an explanation. But it is the difference in mindset between those people and us. We have no choice but to go in and risk our lives. And you have to go do your job, and I have no choice but to. I don't have to. Luckily, my job is being done remotely, but it's because of people like that who are being greedy and illegally performing their jobs that I still currently have one. Okay, I'm not thankful. It just is what it is. They owe me no explanation as to why they're staying open. I owe them no explanation as to why I'm continuing to do my job. The same way you owe nobody nothing. So you don't owe anybody anything. So don't say thank you. Like, you just do it. Like, you're just going in and doing your job, which I respect. You got to do what you got to do.
Right. Well, at the end of the day, that's how I feel about that. Do I personally like the wealthy 1%? No. Do they give a fuck about me? No. Are they going to? Do I give a fuck about them?
Go ahead.
No. I'm just saying. No, I don't.
Look, and I don't give a fuck if you are a trillionaire or a bazillionaire or a millionaire or you make $10. I don't like. There's nothing wrong with wealth in this country. Absolutely not. There is nothing wrong with being wealthy.
Doesn't sound like a Democrat.
All I'm saying, see, but here's the thing. This is why we're Rust Belt folks. Number one, and number two, this isn't your thought process on the Democratic Party. Isn't the actual thought process of the Democratic Party?
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
Hang on. I got my point here.
Okay,
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, just serious. I have a question. Why is it that Bernie Sanders goes on every single fucking debate and says the 1%, and he owns fucking 3 homes? I don't own fucking 3 homes. Is he going to give up 2 of his homes? Why is he so against 1%? If he speaks for the average American, then tell me the average American that owns 3 fucking homes. Tell me that one.
So why, first of all, the guy wrote a book, made $1 million, and he's going about his life. He doesn't come from that thought process. He doesn't come from that belief system. He is a working class advocate who is a working class person who comes from the working class, right? He was built by the working class. The difference between him owning 3 homes and a Republican or the national Republican figure owning 3 homes, if the policies are the exact same, they're irrelevant. But when you have a guy who owns 3 houses and somebody like a billionaire, actually he's not really a billionaire, but he pretends to be and he thinks he is, and blah blah blah, who's sitting in the executive branch, is sitting at the head of the executive branch right now. The difference is we know that he is always that Bernie Sanders is always going to side on the side of the people.
Great.
Now, he's not going to win the Democratic nomination. He doesn't have to sell his homes the same way Donald Trump doesn't have to sell his resorts.
Yeah, but Donald Trump never comes out there and says that bullshit that Bernie Sanders does.
Because Bernie Sanders is for the working class folks. He is talking about Donald Trump.
Okay.
And folks like him.
Okay, so you want to talk about Bernie Sanders. You want to talk about how. This is another reason why I didn't want to talk about Bernie Sanders. You wanted to talk about Bernie Sanders.
I'm continuing the conversation, but that's another reason why I switched away from being a member of the Republican Party, is because people who are true liberals within the Democratic Party are working class advocates only, whether they have $10 billion or they have nothing and they were waitresses before they got elected to Congress. Their only thought process is on the concept is the only thought concept is for the working class, the poor, the middle class folks, building a middle class. That's all that matters to the people that are on the left side of the political spectrum.
Ed, so we have a question here on our live feed right now. We have a listener, Sue35. She had a question. I want you to answer this here. Who is for the poor?
You mean the people that are running for president of which
I don't know.
American political party?
Sue 35 here live on air just said who is for the poor. So who is for the poor?
The Democratic Party. And
How
not
are they
the
for the
current
poor?
see, but here of the people we're talking about, Bernie fucking Sanders, not Joe Biden, sure as fuck not Donald Trump. Like the people who are the person who is for the poor that we're talking about, Bernie Sanders, Cory Booker, who was running for president, same concept. Like the Democratic Party is the party of the working class and of the poor people. And if you don't believe that, and you can comment however you'd like, if you don't believe that, you are uneducated on the issue, and I will be glad to answer any further questions with facts, whether you believe them or not.
Well, it looks like Sue35 here just wrote back and said lies. So evidently Sue35 doesn't like your shit.
Okay, and that's fine. She's wrong. She's wrong.
Is she wrong, or is she an American that can voice her opinion in a free market?
You are allowed to be wrong in this country.
Okay, so Sue35 here says lies, and that is her opinion about it. I don't know necessarily if I agree with Sue35 because I don't know what she exactly is specifying about, but it seems like her and I are in the same ball team. You are in another sport. The Republican.
It's like we're playing in Yankee Stadium and you're trying to play soccer.
Well, that's what you're trying.
And I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you to throw a pitch.
I have fucking Babe Ruth in my fucking bench waiting to hit. You're the fucking asshole that's trying to get Pele out there. Oh, wait. Sue35 says, I'm eating now. If you all are still debating, I will call in when I'm done. Oh, so we could have a call.
Fine.
That sounds great. I'm going to write Ed. Ed can't wait. This is what happens when we do a live show, buddy.
Mm-hmm. That's fine.
So anyway, this is fucking great. Thank you, Sue, for this, because this is our first episode for the Rust Belt. This makes us really happy that you're even contributing, Sue. So thank you so much for contributing. Ed, I know you don't agree with her, but you got to admit it is really fucking cool that Sue35 is contributing at least.
Listen, I do appreciate it. I mean, and I'll be happy to explain. I'll be happy to listen to any explanation anybody has, and then explain why that's incorrect.
All right. So if she is okay, so when Sue35 is done eating, and if she decides to call into the air, we'll see what goes on with this. So one of my biggest. Okay, so let's go to another thing, right? One of the things that I have personally seen, and I know you're going to say that I'm wrong, which is fine because you're going to say I'm wrong, is I don't feel that the Democratic Party gives a shit about our military, especially our veterans, as much as the Republican Party does. And the reason why I say that is because I know a lot of military guys in my personal life, and they seem to always get screwed when a Democrat is in office. And regardless if you like him, regardless if you hate him, doesn't matter. Donald Trump has done a lot of great things for the veterans. That is a fact. He's given a lot of stuff for the veterans. Case in point, there have been people that work at VA hospitals that are terrible at their jobs. Nurses, doctors that are just shit people. And then Donald Trump finally comes in and says, hey, guess what? You can't fucking do that shit. You can't just coast by this. We need people to actually help our VAs. And from what I see from the Democratic Party is they could give two shits about the military. They could give two shit about our veterans. I really, truly, honestly feel that.
I fundamentally disagree with that. But they have won the messaging war. The Republican Party, here's the thing, like the current generation of elected Republican officials have talked a great game about veterans and military. Yet we have tens of thousands of homeless veterans in this country. The government is the VA is a government run hospital and it's run by people who don't believe in government, and let's just face it, they believe that mental illness is a choice as a whole.
Who believes that? Who believes that?
The Republican Party. The Republican Party.
Republican Party believes that.
Elected. Okay. Let me rephrase. currently elected Republican officials, not people who vote Republican. Current elected Republican officials.
Continue.
And and here's the thing: I am a moderate Democrat, and I believe that we need to truly increase the access to VA hospitals. We need to truly increase access to healthcare for veterans. We need to completely eliminate homeless veterans in this country. We need to give them a place to live if they don't have one, and we need to give them full access to healthcare. And we need to treat them with dignity, and we need to be able to treat them with respect. I don't care if that is if it's believed that the Republican Party believes that or the Democratic Party believes that. That's how I believe.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on from that subject because I'm not going to disagree that we need to help our veterans at all. That's why I wear grunt style shirts a lot. I know that will make you just disgusted. Love grunt style. They're great.
Listen, I don't know what that is, but listen, I don't.
What it is right now, currently, I'm wearing a shirt that says FUBAR. We all know what FUBAR means.
Sure.
And on the right sleeve, actually, for those of you who don't know what FUBAR is, it was a military term that was brought up by American soldiers during World War II. FUBAR means fucked up beyond all recognition. And on the right side of my shirt is the American flag. On the left side of the shirt, on the sleeves, is the logo Grunt Style. And it's a company that is made. It was a company that's created by veterans around our age group. And shirts are usually $15 to $20, and $5 of those T-shirts go to help veterans. And I have like 6 or 8 of the shirts, and I support the shirts 100%, and I wear them all the time. I completely support it. So I think you and I both agree when it comes to our veterans. The way we go about it could be a different thing, but I think we both agree with that. One of the things that has completely changed my mind from being a Democrat to Republican is immigration. Now, I know we're going to have probably a whole episode dedicated to immigration, but I do want to tiptoe the waters a little bit here. I just want to dip my toe in the shallow end. I don't want to go into the deep end of the pool. I just want to dip it in to see if it's warm enough to my liking. Are you willing to dip your toe in this with me?
Sure.
Okay. So my belief is simple as this, and I'll make it very cookie cutter simple. I, Jordan, do not give a shit your color. I do not care about your religious backgrounds. I do not care about anything at all, you personally. If you come over to this country legally, and pay your taxes like me and my family has to all the time, then I will support you. Looks like we got a caller coming here. Looks like we got Sue coming in here.
Hello.
Sue, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi, Sue. This is Jordan, and you're on the air here with myself and Ed. How you doing, Sue?
I'm pretty good. I'm enjoying y'all debating. It's entertaining as well as knowledgeable. So, and I want to thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate it.
No problem at all. You first made the assumption that everybody knew. What was the term? Football or what was the term?
FUBAR.
And you made the first assumption that everybody knew what that was, and I was on mute because I was eating. I was like, I don't know what that is, but then you was like, for the ones who don't, and you explained it. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem, Sue. Well, thank you so much for calling in. And before we continue with your discussion with us, let's let you know this is our first episode, a part of Movie Guys Podcast. This is a once a month episode about why we changed political parties. I was a Democrat. I have switched to the Republican Party, and Ed was a Republican who switched to the Democratic Party. So we're just here discussing why we have switched. And this is all leading up to the election in November. So, Sue, you were listening to the show here.
Real quick, do you think that the crisis is going to interfere with them being on schedule, or you think it's going to go on as planned?
I think it's going to go on as planned, and honestly, this is how I feel. And I'm sad for saying this, Sue, but maybe Ed can chime in. This is how Donald Trump is going to lose, in my opinion. If I was going against Donald Trump, this is what I would say. Hey, if I was president, a lot less people would have died, and I would have handled it differently. Boom, there's the election. Game over. How are you going to defeat that statement? I don't want that to happen. But I feel that could happen.
Sue, to answer your question, I feel like I do 100% believe that if we had a presidential election in the middle of a civil war, we can have a presidential election in the middle of a pandemic. You see in Wisconsin today, the lines were out the door. The lines were backed up beyond belief. People were wearing their protective, makeshift protective gear to go do their civic duty and their American right, which was to vote today in the Wisconsin primary. Yeah. So it will happen. It will happen. God willing.
So Sue, I have a question for you then. What side are you on right now?
Man, of course, I'm coming from the urban city. I'm from the DMV area. So, of course, I was brought up in Democrats. And then as I became to, in my older years now, and started to study about the candidates and what they stand for, what they're about, I kind of switched to Republican. I don't know how nobody going to feel about this, but I'm proud to say that even though it's some things I don't agree with him on, I'm proud of my president, my chief and commander right now. But where I'm at currently right now, I'm more so, I don't know if I'm independent or I'm not even going to exercise the right to vote. And I believe currently I think that they're starting to give felons back their privilege to vote. But I'm more so at the standstill was like, I was telling somebody, when you're people want to blame the president for, okay, like he's the president. We all know that he like his profession is more like monopoly. He buy hotels, real estate, stuff like that, right? If you put a man like this in commander chief and a pandemic happens like that, he's not his specialty wasn't medicine. His specialty wasn't all this. So I just think that a lot of Americans have to blame, including the people coming from my side of things, poverty, have to really educate themselves and get people in office who are going to shine a light or help them in their situation. Like coming from my situation, like you were saying, like Bernie Sanders, some guy who got 3 houses. You know what I'm saying? I don't even got 1 house. Mm-hmm. I'm homeless. And by all means, I think for people to go out and fight for this country, by all means, they should get first dips on everything, because you know what I'm saying, to go over there and that traumatizing atmosphere, God knows, bullets, missiles flying over your head, to come back to your country where you supposed to be saluted and you ain't got nowhere to stay. That's just kind of like, you know what I'm saying, insult to injury. You feel what I'm saying? But
it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's very heartbreaking. And coming from
go ahead.
Go ahead, I'm listening.
No, I'm sorry. It's for me, it's one of those things, and I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt. There's kind of a hesitation in our connection here, so I thought you had stopped talking, and I apologize. I didn't mean to talk over you. But what I was saying is I believe that we should not have any level of homeless veterans in this country whatsoever. It is. There are so many things we can do, whether it be building dorms at VA hospitals, or even cheaper, we can build 3D houses now that last a pretty decent amount of time for less than it costs to put somebody in prison that is homeless, that is only committing a crime simply to get themselves 3 squares in a cot.
Right.
So there are things that we can do as a country if we just come together and understand that this is a huge problem that we can fix. We can fix, and the only people that can fix it are either philanthropic people or the government's got to step in and do something.
Well, that's the thing is, and I like the fact that Sue decided to actually call in here and talk to us about it, because this is a person that we're talking about this whole episode, right? Like this is a person that we want to know what they feel, what's going on. a down-to-earth, middle-class, hard-working person. And it's great to hear what they have to hear from. And I feel, and Sue, I'm not putting words in your mouth at all, but what I feel she is saying is that she feels that she feels that the Democratic Party is not giving her what she needs. It's not giving her what she
That's
wants.
exactly what I'm saying. Like, that's the whole image they put out there. And you know what I'm saying? That's they claim that they stand by. But the reality of it is they're not helping at least my class. You feel what I'm saying? Which is the poor, poverty, you know? And most people, like, depending on who you speak with, people have opinions on that because some people are like, well, you're not applying yourself, or you're not doing this and you're not doing that. And in some cases, that is true. But in a lot of cases, it's a lot of hard working, you know what I'm saying, willing to do whatever they got to do to prosper, but just they have that roadblock and they don't have those resources and them opportunities given to them as others might have them in a, you know what I'm saying, and get to those resources easily. So it's very difficult, even when looking at Obama, you know what I'm saying? My culture, I'm African American, so just accomplishing that, everybody was so excited, and they should have been excited. But how I see it, ain't nothing changing in my neighborhood. It's the same way. It's drug infested, crime infested, and just a lot of negativity and slum life. You feel me? So he came, he did his 8 terms, he gone, and we still in the same predicament. So,
You know, if you don't mind me saying this, I don't know personally, and this is just my thought process. I think the biggest problem that we have with a lot of folks in your position and in my position. I mean, I grew up poor. I mean, I'm very lucky that I didn't grow up in a urban poor area, but I grew up in Appalachian, like Western Pennsylvania, very, very poor on a different level. But you know, to me, it's more along the lines like the Democratic Party started chasing the Republican Party and going after donors. So they changed their economic policies to be less about. It's like people like Joe Biden became more along the economic beliefs of Trump, of Bush, and even Obama was more like, let's keep taxes low for the people up at the top, and because we need to chase their money. And it didn't benefit anybody that's poor. It didn't benefit people like yourself. Didn't benefit people like all of us, really. And that's why I think people in our position, working class people, poor people, we moved away from the Democratic Party because, as a whole, they started chasing the money that the Republican Party had been getting since the '80s. People donating to their campaigns.
What do you think of that, Sue?
I'm feeling them.
Okay,
I'm not to really, but listen, I'm not really into the whole politic thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm into it, but it's kind of like, I feel it's like you'll never know the truth. Like, politicians to me is just like lawyers sometimes. You feel what I'm saying? And I kind of like not try to be too. I try not to pick sides because this is how I see it. If I was in a position, right, and I had control over a lot of situations, I'm quite sure that I would be doing some things that's kind of like underhanded. You feel what I'm saying? But my main objective will be to make sure, you know what I'm saying? Like I use Bill Clinton as an example, right? Like, we all know what he did in the main office, what a lot of men and a lot of people do. You know what I'm saying? Even when you're just a businessman and you got an office and you got a secretary, like that's part of life. But when you still use your ability and your authority to make change in an area that you see needs it, that you see been needing it for years, like, I commend you for that. I'm not saying that I want somebody in office and I expect them to be 100% guaranteed, just authentic and don't do nothing wrong, because that would be like a robot in office. You feel what I'm saying? It's just like when you get a charities. Most of them charity people, they dip in it. Yeah, them Salvation Armies and stuff like that. I know they dip in it during the Christmas time when they got all these abundance of donations coming in. But for you not to do good also, and more good than what you're doing, that's kind of like side-handedly on the side, that's what I got a problem at. So I just think it's very imperative that when people make their votes, and that they vote for somebody that they really studied and they believe that they have good intentions on helping all. You feel what I'm saying?
Dude, I like Sue,
100%.
I like
100%.
Sue's badass, dude. She was
So,
awesome.
but let me just ask you a question. And and it's all right. Like you may not know, and it's because I study politics all the time. It's something that I'm very personally passionate about. So don't worry. I'm just asking you like the question. It's not like
no,
a gotcha
feel free.
kind of thing or
I
anything
got
like
tough
that.
skin. It takes a lot to offend me.
Well, that's good, and I appreciate that. What if you talked about like, yeah, I mean, nobody died when Clinton lied. Like he lied about getting a blowjob, which, all right, you believe what you believe. Anybody believes what they believe. It is what it is. Like it was a terrible judgment call. But if you had somebody like, for example, Trump was just forced to pay back $2 million to charity because the foundation that was created was a total sham for them to skim off the top of, and I'll be glad to put the link in the description for you to the
Okay.
to the Associated Press. Is that the Associated Press article is because they basically people were donating money to this charity, and they were taking it and not giving it to the charities that they said that they were doing.
It happens a lot.
And that's why it does happen a lot. But when people like you or I or people that are in business and these people, it's unethical to do it. But
unethical, yeah.
would you trust that person to be the president of the United States when people like us need to be able to trust that the person there is making decisions for working class folks?
I think that's
everything that they've ever set up has been about self-gain and personal gain.
No, not when everything, the word you use, I mean, was everything they did. It was for their own selfish reasons. No, but you got to think about like humans, like who can you trust? Like, because when they doing their campaign and I watch a couple of debates, they saying what they want to hear. It's just like y'all males, I probably talk to you when you come across a young lady or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know no male that comes across, well, something, because you could pick up hookers, but usually
Sure.
when it's an attractive young lady and you trying to get their attention,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? You telling them what they want to hear. They don't know that, you know what I'm saying, you're going to be a deadbeat, you're going to leave after you do this and stuff like that. So it's more so like, you really got to, like you said, it's your passion. You study it, you follow it, and you just got to pray that you made the right choice. And you just got to hope that person that's in office do good. You feel what I'm saying? At least some good. You feel me?
Well, y'all, 100%.
Because you gotta say, you got a passion for it. You got a passion
right.
for me. How would you be the chief of commandment? Do you think you'll be doing handed stuff?
So, well, no. I mean, here's the thing. I'm just going to be completely blunt about it. My thought process is not about my own personal gain when it comes to being a public servant. I believe that when you run for office, it is no longer about you whatsoever. It is about the people that you are asking to hire you to do a job. You're going out there, you're shaking somebody's hand. If you lie to that person, that's on you. You're a terrible person. And it's up to them, it's up to the voters to be able to decipher that. That is true. But to use your example, let's say there was a guy that you saw that you thought he was, very good looking, right? And every one of your girlfriends, every one of your friends, people that you knew, people in your neighborhood, they were all saying, listen, Joe, I fucked with him and he did this to me. My sister fucked with him and he did this to her. If you had 5 to 10 people that you knew personally that said, don't go with Joe because here's all the shit that he did to us, would you then still try to pursue him, or would you trust him when he talked to you?
Well,
I always say that, and I pause. It's the same thing. It's the same thing in my thought process. It's the same thing with Trump. When you have these charities, when you have the Trump University that had to shut down because they weren't teaching people anything and they were just stealing people's money. When you've got all the hotels that he built, when there's evidence he didn't pay a single vendor, people who like you and me started a drywall business, got this $10 million contract, went out and bought $9 million worth of drywall, put it up, and then Trump says, "Yeah, I don't like what you're doing. I'm not going to pay you," and then you have no money left to sue him with. Like that has happened. That is those things. Like I'm trying to put it like in a non-political spectrum. You know what I mean? Like, so if you feel like I'm getting out of line, tell me, please. I don't want to.
I'm feeling your point of view.
All right. So what's your answer, Sue?
Well, first of all, about the scenario about the guy, you know what I'm saying? You did it as if I was initially meeting him and I ain't already get too attached. Once you're too attached, it's kind of hard to break free. But if I'm just meeting this guy and I'm hearing all these bad things about him, no means. I mean, I'd be a fool to put myself into that unless I'm just like, you know what, I don't really care. I just want to, you know what I'm saying, one thing from him, then I might do take the chance. But if I was expecting to build and have honesty and all that commitment stuff coming, doesn't look like that's a pretty good investment right there.
Right.
If you so just to use that, if you were looking at somebody like Trump to build you a hotel as cheaply as possible, that one thing, right? Sure. I mean, the guy builds hotels cheap. But if you are looking at him to lead the country, to lead all these different things, a long-term 4-year commitment that could hurt us or could help us. That's what I'm trying to draw the parallels. Is like, if you're looking for one thing, like, okay, he can do that one thing well, but look at what he's done in the past when it comes to being in charge of other people's things. He's totally screwed it up, and purposely.
So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
During your experience, like nothing in the past that you didn't like live through it. Like, who would you say was your ideal president?
Well, are you asking like of the people that have been elected or people that had maybe run or
during your
who
lifetime?
I think would have been?
Yeah.
So during my lifetime, all right. Okay, so I was born in the late 80s. Oh, so I think the person who would have been the best president ever would have been Bobby Kennedy, because he walked around the communities that needed help, learned from the people who had the real world on the ground experience, and unfortunately, he was assassinated for his beliefs. Of my lifetime, however, yeah, I know it's the people who speak the truth to power. Power don't like that, and they shoot people and they get them killed, and it's heartbreaking. Of my lifetime, I was born in the late 80s. I mean, I would have liked to have seen John Kerry beat Bush in 2004. Barack Obama, the campaign was great, but I just being blunt, he didn't do a whole lot for me either. And I felt like he was kind of weak on foreign policy, and I feel like he gave up the goat on healthcare. We should have had universal healthcare. We could have had it. But when I was born in 87, so like Dukakis ran in, right after that. Then we had Clinton, who try to do a good job, but then he had the compromise. He gave away the goat. He kept compromising. He didn't stand up for the things that he said he believed in. And then I think, I guess taking the long way around your question is, in the last 100 years, I think Bobby Kennedy would have probably been the best president because of his perspective. But of my lifetime, I think John Kerry would have been would have also come at it from the same perspective.
All right, Sue, I have one more question for you because we got to continue with our show. I do appreciate you calling in, but I'm just curious, we can know what's going on. If you don't mind, what city and state are you calling from right now?
Maryland.
Maryland?
Yes.
And everybody's okay in your family? Everybody's okay and healthy as of right now?
Yeah, I'm blessed to be able to say that because, it's kind of crazy in the DMV area. But, yeah, nobody's been in my personal circle has been infected with the virus, so I'm blessed.
Great. All right, great. That's awesome, because I was just curious where you were calling from and making sure that everybody in the family is okay, because I ask everybody that because of this nonsense. Sue, before we let you go here, so we continue with the show here, what him and I are discussing with Ed, do you have anything else you want to say to myself or Ed before we cut you off here?
No,
thanks
you so
much.
I appreciate y'all insight.
Thank you,
Thank you
Sue.
so much for calling in. We very much appreciate it, and we do appreciate you being willing to call in and talk to us. So.
Thanks, Sue. We definitely appreciate it, and thank you so much for telling us that everything is okay with your family. And truthfully, just one more time, Sue, thank you for calling in, and also we are very happy that your family's okay with this dire time. This is crazy, Ed. I mean, wow, we just had a caller here for our live show. You know, in the history of Movie Guys podcast for 10 years of doing podcasting, and then you and I decide to dick around and do a political show, we get a freaking live caller.
Well, and here's the thing, Sue, like about callers like Sue. This is very important. This is why politics are important. This is why the process is important. This is why getting involved is important, because your everyday lives are affected. Shows we've done in the past, people like movies, you don't like movies, you like it for a reason, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, if a movie is good, if a movie is terrible, it doesn't affect anybody's everyday life, right? Government and policies actually affect people. And getting these policies right and ensuring that you're coming at them from a non-corrupt, correct position is important. And it's folks like her that we need to hear from. It's folks like her that why we need to be able to have these frank and blunt conversations with elected officials. And right now we've got so many people that are doing telephone town halls before coronavirus. My personal congressman, he refuses to go out in front and stand in front of people and be asked questions. He does telephone town halls, and when he actually goes to events, he refuses to have non-pre-screened questions.
Let me guess, and you don't like it because he's a Republican.
No, I don't like him because he's not a fucking representative, and he's a rich person. He's a rich prick who only gives a fuck about himself.
But here's the thing, though, here's the thing that I've always argued is that, look, I don't like fucking rich pricks. I don't like rich pricks at all, dude. But it's like they give us the fucking jobs. So if they give us the job, yes,
they don't give you a job. They don't.
Yes,
No. Here's the thing. No. Here's the thing. Somebody like listen, I have friends who own restaurants. Like I have friends that own small businesses, legitimate small businesses, not car dealerships that make $250,000 to $500,000 a month in gross profit. And trust me, I know how much those motherfuckers make because I used to work in one. So, but here's the thing. They don't give you a job. They go out and they say, okay, I have all of this and I have this amount of need. So I'm going to pay somebody something to go do the job that I can't do myself in order to save money. They're not giving you a job. They're paying you as little as they possibly can in order to do the thing that makes them the most amount of money. So don't say they give you a job. They don't give you a job. They're paying you to do a service. They're paying you to do something that they can't do for themselves for as cheaply as they can possibly get you for.
You're done?
Where'd that come from?
You're done?
Where'd that come from?
We're going on for an hour and 22 minutes. I think we should take those last few minutes or the last 10 minutes of us just talking about this subject real quick, getting prepared for our next month's episode. But you brought up the $15 minimum wage gap. Now we'll talk about this. Another reason why I switched parties. Okay, under Bernie Sanders' plan, you're gonna say I'm wrong. I know you are, and so is every other Democrat that's listening to this broadcast right now. But the facts are the facts. You're gonna say I'm wrong. I'm already prepared for it. Here we go. Under Bernie Sanders' plan, right, the minimum wage will be $15 an hour. You will be taxed way more a percent than what you are now. So I think it's at like a 32% tax on that. So then altogether, that $15 an hour is now at $7.50. So evidently, everybody should make $15 an hour, right? Because in reality, you're only making $7.50. Here's the thing. McDonald's workers, I'm sorry, you work at McDonald's. You don't deserve $15 an hour. You don't.
So I had to pull it up just to be able to get you the facts. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the 35% tax rate is currently
Mhm.
actually I have it here. It's from BernieSanders.com. So these are the
Okay.
facts.
So legitimate source from BernieSanders.com. Okay.
You said Bernie Sanders. Here's his proposed plan.
Okay.
You called
Here's
out
his
Bernie
plan.
Sanders specifically, so I'm giving you his plan.
Okay.
So
Give me his plan.
at
Give me his plan.
$230,000 per year income, your current tax rate is 33% and would stay the same. At 250,000 even, it goes up to 37.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Mhm.
but a $15 an hour minimum wage, which actually really and truly is just barely a livable wage, right? But it's double what we've got now, so it's the only thing that's swallowable, right?
Bullshit.
$15. It is not. It is not.
Bullshit.
So it's not. Listen. Do you want to have the economic argument? Do you want to spend? We can spend an hour talking about the economics of this thing. Okay.
We're not going to spend it, but
So-
I'm just talking to you is that look, how can an 18-year-old kid fresh out of high school in between going to college make $5.25 an hour at movie gallery able to survive on his own, but Tom, Dick, and Harry can't fucking survive under $15 an hour? I don't understand it.
Because they're not. Do you understand? Do you know how much? Do you know how much money rent is at most parts of the country? Like,
Educated.
first of all, a $15 an hour minimum wage is actually, in the places that it exists now, is proven to have job growth 4 times as much as places that don't have it. Okay,
Really?
so $15 an hour minimum wage actually lets the people who work at those jobs actually go and live.
I don't
Okay,
believe that.
a $15 because
I
you
know
don't
for a
have
fact
to
that
believe.
there's a
I'm
bunch
giving
of
you. I'm
places-
giving you the
I'm
fact.
telling you, there's a bunch of places like McDonald's in California, in Santa Monica, California. There's like $15 an hour. Screw that shit. They fired all their employees and they put fucking goddamn robots in there, the fucking touchscreen things, and they fired all of them. So no,
That's
no.
that's coming regardless of whether the income minimum wage is $7.25 or $70 an hour. That
It
is
won't
coming.
be.
That is a fact. It's already happened. It's already
How?
happening. Those jobs have already. Go to a fucking McDonald's anywhere in the country, and most of them have a kiosk. Okay, there are gas stations now here in Western Pennsylvania. One of the most popular ones called Sheetz. Fuck you, Wawa on the East Coast. On the east side of Pennsylvania, Sheetz is legitimate. They have drive-thrus now that have touch screens. You walk up, you go to a kiosk, you tell them what you want, and there's somebody who cooks the food. That's where the world is going. It's been going that way for the last several years. The cashier's job, the order taker's job at McDonald's, at the drive-thru window, all of that is going away. 10 years from now, they'll be gone. Okay, so
When
let's
they
have
are
a
not
heart and
gone,
pay
I
people-
want
and
you
pay
to
people-
pay me.
and pay- and
I want
they're
you to give
not
me a
get-
case of beer.
They're going. First of all, so $15 for a full-time employee is just over just under $29,000 a year, right? Which
Okay.
keeps your tax rate at 15%. It's exactly where it is now. It's exactly where it will be if Bernie Sanders becomes president. He won't. But that you specifically pulled him out, so I'm giving you the facts. All right. There is actual evidence and actual studies done that $15 an hour minimum wage stimulates the economy. $15 an hour plus tips, plus commissions. So, like, if you're a waitress, you actually go. If you're a waitress and you make $15 an hour plus tips, you can actually afford to go out to eat, and then there creates more job growth in the food industry. So actually at the level of 4 times, there is actual evidence of this. What I'd like to see the studies done, or when you get tax cuts for millionaires and billionaires who you actually have negative job growth, which is job losses when you cut those taxes. I'd like to see studies done about that. Because you won't see them, because the people who pay for those studies, are the people who study that, are the people who pay for those studies, are the people who benefit from that.
Are you gonna breathe? Breathe, motherfucker. Breathe. Okay, so
I'm trying to give you the facts.
okay, well, I'm trying to give you the facts. Okay, you can sit here and read me something on the computer, but what middle class America cares about facts is what they see in their daily lives. I worked in restaurants before when I was fresh out of high school into the college area, And I saw waitresses making $2.75 because, you know, I went to college in 2005. Now, that doesn't seem like a long time ago, but it was a fucking long time ago when it compares to nowadays. In 2005, I was working in a fucking restaurant. I was a fucking busboy, made fucking shit money, right? Because, you know, piece of shit, first job, hey, you know. And fucking waitresses would sit there, get push-up bras. I would go in the back to take a piss, and there would be fucking waitresses putting push-up bras on, stuffing their bras, making their tits look good, right? So then all of a sudden when they go out to the fucking table with all the dudes that are like fucking asshole bras, right? Frat guys. And they're giving her like a fucking like, you know, $40 fucking tip because her tits are out, right? Is that okay for her to do that? No. Is that her choice? Yes. And because of that, I would go out with these waitresses at the end of the night, and they would go out and they would spend $100, $150, $200 on the bar after the restaurant closes. So if you want to sit here and say that, oh, you know, hey, waitresses should make this, should make that, or whatever, as an example, guess what? It's that dumb bimbo's fault for spending $200 of her tip money instead of saving it like she should to educate herself and to better give herself a life instead of sitting there and spending it on fucking what dick's going to go in her vagina tonight. So
Wow.
that's
So
not
first of all, you need to take a step back, and you need to not be so offensive when you speak, because it absolutely diminishes the entirety, your argument in its entirety. Do not talk about people that way.
That's what it was.
No, listen.
That's what I saw.
You added derogatory commentary, bro. You can't add derogatory commentary. You can't add the derogatory commentary.
But that's what they said.
And we all at 18, 19, we all were out searching for the next person to lay with us. It's how the world worked. Okay? That doesn't mean you get to, at 33, get to talk defamatory about women. You can't do it. And stop doing it. Stop doing it.
I'm not doing that about women. I'm telling you what I personally
You are.
What I experienced.
And you know what? I've experienced a lot of things with a lot of dumb fucking white people, but that doesn't mean I'm going around screaming people are dumb fucking white people are dumb and white people. Like, I've experienced a lot of things in my life. I'm not talking fucking negative about a person based upon their gender or their race or who they are or making generalities. We're talking statistical facts about economics and why we switch parties. So if you want to continue the conversation, you're going to take a step back and you're going to stop talking derogatory.
How about this? My point was just what I personally saw with my own eyes. Does that mean that speaks for every waitress in America? Of course it doesn't. Does that mean that speaks for every woman in America? Of course it doesn't. From what I saw out of my own eyes, does that mean that every waitress is in the bathroom doing a push-up bra and stuffing and all that stuff to get a big tip? No. I'm just telling you what I saw. And I think the reason why that you and I see so differently when it comes to our political issues is that what I see is middle-class America trying to do the best they can do to survive. And we may agree or disagree with what they are doing, but that's just what I experienced. I did not say anything negative towards women. I'm just saying that's what I saw and what they were saying to me.
Did you know?
That's what I'm just getting at.
Did you know? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello. Oh, sorry.
I'm here.
My tablet went down for a second. Sorry. Did you know that 40% of the people that live in this country don't have $400 to their name?
Well, whose fault's that? Theirs or the government?
The fact that they are being paid less than a livable wage.
Are they though? Because
that's whose fault it is.
Well, okay. How about this for example, right? Okay, let's just go down.
There are no other choices.
No,
Look, you live in.
Can I give you an example?
Please do.
Okay. So you have your tablet out. Do you have your phone out?
No, my phone's on the charger. My tablet's out because we're recording it on this thing.
Okay. All right. So I will post my phone out for this. Okay. I will go personal to a certain degree. Okay. To a certain degree. Okay. So at my job right now, okay, I make this is the whole point of the choice, right? I make $17 even an hour. Okay, so normal things nowadays is every 2 week pay period, right? So that's 80 hours, correct? So at $17 an hour times 80, we're at $1,360. Well, already $200 to $300 of that's taken out in taxes, right? So let's just forget about taxes because that's just more math that we don't want to fucking do to our fans right now, right? So
15% federal tax, but continue.
well, yeah, but I'm not going to do that, right? This is just simple shit. So
Sure.
at $17 an hour, at 80 hours, I make $13.60, right? Now, I am not a waitress. I am not somebody making less than the minimum wage, clearly. But here's an example. Because of what's going on in this time, actually, you know what? No, fuck what's going on with this coronavirus. Ever since I started working there, overtime at the place that I work at has been endless, right? So what happens is that after you do 80 hours of regular work, you can decide to come in and work overtime, which is time and a half. So 17 times what a half that would be.
Thank you, unions. Thank you, Democrats.
Unions had nothing to do with this. My shop is not a union shop.
But they created a 40-hour work week, plus you get plus overtime laws. Continue.
Ford, the maker of Ford vehicles, created a 40-hour work week, not the Democrats. So know your history.
The automotive union workers, UAW, United Auto Workers. Continue.
Okay. So at that time and a half, you're looking at $25, right? $25 an hour. And let's say that I work an extra 20 hours, right? So that's $500, right? So we're at $1,365 plus an extra $500. I'm looking at $1,865. Okay. So my point is, do I want to work over 80 hours? Absolutely not. Me as an individual person, not anybody else that we're talking about. Just me as an individual person. Do I want to work over 80 hours a pay period? No. But do I? So I can put more money aside for a goal that my wife and I have set?
The fact that you have that choice. Thank you, Democrats. Thank you, unions. But continue.
Okay, fuck unions, first of all. But anyway. There are, we'll go with that. How about that? Okay, so I will say my point.
Go back to your thing about your choice. Go back to your thing about your choice.
I will go about the choice, and we'll end the episode tonight on union. So my choice is that there are people that I work with that are like, no, I ain't gonna fucking work 80 hours. And at my work, you have 8 unpaid personal days a year. You can split those up in halves. So then you technically have 16 unpaid personal days a year. So you just go up to your boss and say, I'm taking a half day, deuces, bye. So then you lose money, right? You don't get your 80 hours. You get 75 hours. You get 70 hours. You get 50 hours on your pay period, whatever. That is their fucking choice. That's my point. And that's why I switched to that's why I switched from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party is I believe in choice. Do I believe in every choice what a person make is correct? No. Do I believe in every choice that I make is correct? No. But that is your fucking choice. My choice is for the next few days is to work overtime. Why? Because I want more money. Why? Because I'm a greedy bastard. That's why. I mean, what else you want me to do? I'm sorry, waitress.
You have a family to feed. Like you have to do what you have to do based upon what is presented to you in what is presented in front of you. Mm-hmm. Like that's just real life. Like you have to do what you have to do based upon the circumstances that are presented and put in front of you.
But what I feel, and why and one of the reasons why I switched to the Republican Party is that I feel that the Democratic Party is saying you don't have to work. We'll take care of you.
Nobody says that.
Are you serious?
Nobody says that. Okay. Nobody says that. Okay. Nobody says that.
Okay.
Nobody says that.
Bernie Sanders fucking says that.
But
we'll
how?
take care of you. We will get rid of. Bernie Sanders says we'll get rid of student loans. Why? Why?
We bailed out. Listen, okay, we bailed out the financial industry for making poor business decisions in a free market to the tune of $1.6 trillion, and we gave it to them because they donate money to Republican policies, right? Excuse me, Republican politicians. We that's fine, but if we did it, it's fact. We did it. There is the number one. A bank going out of business doesn't change the economy. The hindrance of an entire generation not being able to go out and buy a house, not being able to go out and participate in the free market, that is a hindrance on the economy.
That is the individual person's choice. That's the person's choice. 80%.
We don't have a choice.
Hold on.
You don't have a choice. You don't have
a fact. This is a fact. This is a fucking fact that I read today before we get into the show. 80% of the people that graduate college currently do not follow the degree that they went to school for.
Because they can't, because the economy isn't built for them. It's built for the people who have all the money to make more money.
I don't see
That's
that.
how the economy is built. That is not a free market economy. That is socialism for the rich and a capitalism for the rest of us.
Or is
we
it
live in a society that is socialism for the rich and the harshest aspects of the free market for the rest of us. That's the society we live in.
Is it though?
Yes.
Because
yes,
I went
it is,
to
because
college.
we continue to bail out industries. Fucking Trump today just fired the guy whose job it was to be the watchdog, the inspector general of the $2.2 trillion stimulus, the portion that was supposed to go to businesses. He just fired the guy who was supposed to be the watchdog to determine where all the money went, because he doesn't want you to know where all the money's going.
Well, probably, but here's the point: is that somebody like me,
that's a fact.
Somebody like me, who went to college for one thing and is now talking to you on this podcast, doing something completely different. It's just called responsibilities. Life is
you
hard.
have to do what you have to do what you have to do. But here's the thing:
you have to do.
Colleges, from the time that you and I went to present, colleges could raise tuition up to 9.9% without telling you. Like you would just go, you would just say, yeah, I'm coming back for my sophomore year. And it's like, okay. And then they would go and apply for the loan for you by 9.9% more. Right?
I don't see it. I mean, yeah, sure. That's fine.
A fact. That is a fact. If you buy a house that is too much house for you, the bank loans you the money, you buy a house that's too much house for you, or you lose your job, etc., whatever, you make a poor decision, you can file bankruptcy. You buy a car that's too expensive, you file bankruptcy. You can, you say, I made poor financial decisions. File bankruptcy, it all goes into a thing, and you figure out how to pay for it, and it goes away, right? Like the creditors come to an agreement, and they say, okay, we'll take X amount of money versus Y what you owe. The only thing that you don't have to put in, that you're not allowed to put in there, are the student loans. The financial industry is protected by federal law to where you can't, at 18 years old, make a financial decision. Like, you're not allowed to buy cigarettes at 18. You're not allowed to. You can't buy cigarettes at 18. You can't buy a beer at 18. But apparently, you can make the most important financial decision that's going to affect you for the next 50 fucking years, and it's protected, and it's federally protected. Like, the whole system. I'm not saying that you're not wrong and you need to be personally responsible for your own decisions. You're 100% right. But the system is built right now, and it is rigged against people like you and I, and was done so by the people that you're standing there defending. They actually bent you over and stuck it up there as hard as they possibly could without lube, to the point to where it was coming out of your mouth, and you're saying thank you, and you're defending them. That's why I switched. That's why I switched from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party, because at least the Democratic Party gives you lube when they fuck you.
At least they do. I don't see that, but we're going to end the show on this joke. This is a joke. This is not to be taken seriously. This is a joke, okay? Since you just talked about that, right? You know how everybody says, but you talked about the 18-year-old thing about you can't buy cigarettes, you can't do this at 18, right? And how everybody always says the same argument. Well, if you can die for your country, you should drink a beer, right? Right?
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Here's the joke.
Sure.
Here's the joke. Why is it okay for an 18-year-old woman to get a 16-guy gangbang in every hole in her body?
You do it
And
again.
she
Here
can't
you
go.
did it again.
She can't go and have a beer. That's bullshit.
You did it again, Jordan. You did it again. If you could see me rubbing my eyes, like I can't
That's
believe how
funny,
you
though.
don't understand that.
That's
You can't
funny.
say that. It's unacceptable
Why
to
can't
say that.
I can't not talk about pornography.
Oh my God! You didn't.
How can I not?
Oh
talk
God!
about
Please end the show. Please just end the show. Please end the show. You can't say that. You can't say it. It's unacceptable. Golly.
I can't talk about pornography.
You're not. You're being derogatory. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that. And don't do that.
So I can't.
End the show, please. End the show, please.
I thought you would find that funny. I thought you would find that funny. All right. Well,
Bro, it's offensive. It's offensive. Just end the show.
all right then. All right. Well, we hope everybody enjoyed this episode. We appreciate Sue for calling in tonight here to our Rust Belt Political Podcast episode. Thank you so much for listening to us, and we'll be back on the first Tuesday of every month to give you an episode of our political debate. Probably won't go as long as this one. This was our first episode, but I had a great fucking time. This was fun. Ed, did you have a great time? I had a great time.
Absolutely, brother.
I had a great fucking time. So thank you so much for joining us, everybody. And we'll be back next month, which will be in May for the first Tuesday of the month, talking about whatever the episode's going to be. We don't know yet, but we'll post it on Twitter. Thank you so much. Bye.